Y'all got any good writing? We got hype moments and aura. Then how'd you win anime of the year? Oh look, another writing nerd hating on a show because it's popular. Correct. Look, I'm late to the party, but I have a bone to pick with this story because I was genuinely thinking that it would get good at some point. It didn't. I have both read and watched the contents of both seasons, as well as what'll probably end up being up to like season 5, and man was that a waste of time. Don't get me wrong, when Jin Wu and Beru squared up, I was seated. When Jin Wu fought the demon monarch, I was seated. When Jin Wu fights the other monarchs, my pretentious Latino rear will be firmly planted on my couch, but that does not make the writing quality any good. This man, this dude, he's like 90% of the problem. Jin Wu is uninteresting. Dude, where do I even start? Let's just get the basics out of the way. Sung Jinwoo is an E-rank hunter from South Korea. Hunters are superhumans who became powerful once these portals called gates started appearing all over the world. Jinwoo is known as the weakest hunter of mankind, because he's just barely got enough super juice to qualify as a hunter. What do hunters do? Well, they go into these gates in groups in order to take out the boss within, preventing something called a dungeon break, which is when the gate is left ignored for too long and the fantasy creatures start spilling out into our world. Despite his weakness, Jinwoo goes on these raids for the money, seeing as how he wants to both provide for his sister so she can go to college and pay for his mom's coma treatments. Let's hone in on what he wants. Jinwoo wants to get his sister through college and care for his mom. That's why he goes into dungeons despite the constant scrapes with death. In the first episode, he's characterized as analytical, cool under pressure, selfless, and yet not quite willing to leave his loved ones behind just yet. This is good. This is character. Martin Scorsese might unblock you on Twitter if this is what you're cooking with. But don't hit unblock yet, Marty. Not yet. Yeah, Jinwoo's got almost nothing going on after the first handful of episodes, despite how much the show wants you to think he does. See, after he goes from loser to Giga Chad, he basically loses everything that made him interesting. The system replaces his analytical mind, the puzzle solving becomes unimportant in the face of his overwhelming power, and there's no need to act selflessly in the way he did back during episode 1, because there's nothing that's powerful enough to force that choice upon him. But you would think that all of the bodily changes and the powers he gets would cause some sort of character change, right? Going from literally the weakest in your line of work to one of the strongest must do something to you. Well, yeah, he gets aura. No, that's literally it. Jinwoo becomes confident and acts accordingly, but aside from that, nothing really changes. The first time he's forced to kill another person, he doesn't even really react. There's this thing that the show tries to do where it has Jinwoo internally monologue about how he feels he's losing himself. But like, brother, what is there to lose? By the time he wakes his mom, which, like, to be perfectly clear, I did tear up, the attempts at exploring his psyche at a deeper level were too infrequent and surface level to noticeably impact any of Jinwoo's decision making. And the cutoff point here is important because after he gets made S rank and his mom is restored to full health, his family is set. There is nothing left to motivate Jinwoo to continue being a hunter. And this would be fine, actually. I really like the downtime before Jeju Island. The problem is that this lack of motivation is never filled with anything that's personally important to Jinwoo. Minor spoiler for season 3, but after Jeju Island, Jinwoo basically gets dragged around by the plot without any personal stakes or motivation in the arcs to come. Just the general moral imperative that we all feel if we see people suffering and have the ability to help. Well, okay, that's not entirely accurate. Jinwoo does have some minor personal motivations, but given how shallow and short-lived they each are, my assessment is close enough. Short-lived. Manhwa readers know what's up. So maybe Jinwoo isn't the deepest, but this is a zero to hero story. How interesting is that part of the show? Like a 3 out of 10? You remember when I said that he went from loser to Giga Chad? Yeah, well, that happened in like 4 episodes. Jinwoo basically goes through his full transformation in more or less a single dungeon raid. Here we see Jinwoo follow through on the promise of the show. He is solo and he is leveling. He goes into this alternate reality subway station, attacks some innocent puppies, levels up, then does his best Sukuna impression to clear the boss fight, and then after that, the next episode, Jinwoo just straight up has a different facial structure. Like, this really is just not the same guy anymore. But more importantly, this all happened way too fast. Sure, the story is called solo leveling, but that doesn't mean that he should be functionally fully leveled solo by episode 5. This causes a whole host of issues. For starters, we don't actually get to see much progression over the course of this zero to hero story. By the end of season 2, Jinwoo is indisputably the strongest hunter in his country as well as stronger than all the S ranks in Japan. Without spoiling too much from season 3, again, after Jeju Island, you can count the number of hunters stronger than Jinwoo on one hand, and that's debatable. By the time we get to the other S ranks and see what they're capable capable of. Jin Wu as a protagonist doesn't just outclass them, he renders them useless. More on the sidecast later though. Jin Wu is just too powerful too quickly. Compare this to another Zero to Hero story, Naruto. Here he goes, mentioning Naruto in another video. Yeah, it's my favorite shonen, cut me some slack. Naruto goes from a useless academy failure to the savior of the ninja world and leader of his village, but it takes him 700 chapters to do so. Because of this very slow growth, Naruto is often put in situations where he has to adapt, make changes, use his brain, compromise, or just outright lose a fight in order to progress. Another reason he takes a long time is because Naruto's constantly fighting an internal struggle against the Nine Tails, who at every opportunity threatens to take him over if he exceeds his boundaries or relies on the fox's power as a crutch. Jin Wu has none of this, and he's a way less interesting character as a result. And you can't tell me that at least some of that death being absent is due to his near instantaneous rise to power. Hey you, this is the obligatory subscribe to the channel bit. I'm not apologizing this time, we're almost at 1,000 and I believe we can make it. I'm counting on you guys. Okay, back to it. Switching gears for a second, I actually really like the abilities that Jin Wu gets access to. They don't seem terribly overpowered on their own, have clearly defined limits for the most part, and only really start to get crazy by the time that Jin Wu is already strong enough to not strictly need them in a 1v1. But there is one power that absolutely does break the story: Necromancy. On the surface, Necromancy isn't that big of an issue. Jin Wu's summons largely serve as foot soldiers to do crowd control or to bait out enemies. The real issue is how they interact with the story itself. Take any scene where Jin Wu uses his summons to fight an opposing army. Would it not be better or more interesting if instead of mindless summons with no personality, Jin Wu was backed up by a small to moderate cast of side characters? Be they members of a guild or Korea's S ranks, if Jin Wu's backup consisted of characters that both he and us, the audience, personally cared about, you can bet your shiniest Charizard foil that we'd be significantly more invested in the story. So about that sidecast I was talking about. This dude, he's like 90% of the characters. Solo leveling isn't interested in giving you compelling side characters. Most members of the sidecast serve the purpose of exposition dumping, power scaling, or world building. If you like Cha Hae-in, I hope you're ready for her to do absolutely nothing of note for the rest of the show. Did you like Juhi? You miss her yet? What about Mr. Song? Did you like his cameo in the finale? Han, Dongsu, Baek, Choi, do these names even register anymore? The sidecast isn't just forgettable, they were intentionally forgotten. And for what? For more Jin Wu? He's already the main character, and he's still surface level despite getting 90% of the screen time. The biggest reason why I enjoy Jeju Island as much as I did is because it's the last time that side characters get to do anything of note. And why? Why don't the side characters get to do anything? Well, it's because of the stupid power system that's at the very core of this story. Solo leveling is a localized title, fitting as it is given that Jin Wu is always solo and always leveling, but the actual Korean title reads more like Only I Level Up. What do I even say to this? Solo leveling's power system goes as follows. Gates appearing coincided with a lot of people becoming exposed to mana, which gives them superhuman abilities straight out of an MMO. Depending on how much mana you have in your system, you're ranked anywhere from E rank to S rank. The thing that's different here compared to every other story, and the central mechanic which sets it apart from any other power fantasy, is that no one can get stronger. You heard me right. Only Jin Wu can increase his rank and gain power. This is a world where the weakest hunter and the strongest hunter can never even dream of coexisting on the same battlefield. And as I'm writing the script, you know what I've realized? This story has no theme. Typically, Zero to Hero or power fantasy stories have some theme about getting revenge, overcoming the odds, or something. As far as solo leveling is concerned, the main theme that one could glean from this is that just because you're weak and useless, it doesn't mean that you're doomed to stay weak and useless. But that's not true. Only Jin Wu can get stronger. Every other weak and pathetic E rank like him is doomed to stay weak and pathetic with no hope of getting stronger because they weren't arbitrarily chosen by some system. And I know we are eventually told why he was chosen, and yes, the reason we're given is still arbitrary. Solo leveling's main gimmick undercuts the one theme it might have had going for it. And for what? Why did Jin Wu have to be the only one who can level up? Why can't he just level exponentially faster than others, but have others still be able to expose themselves to more mana or just simply train to get stronger? Why make it so that your protagonist not only overcomes the best of the best in his world in just 2 to 3 seasons, but then renders the characters he leaves behind useless as soon as he surpasses them? No other show does this as aggressively and spectacularly as solo leveling. Naruto surpassing Minato didn't invalidate Minato. Sasuke surpassing Itachi didn't invalidate Itachi. Though not unique to solo leveling, the degree to which it consistently fumbles Jin Wu's higher tiered counterparts in characterization, plot significance, power, and development is unlike anything I've ever seen. Maybe a lesser gripe that I have with the power system in Solo Leveling is that everything is a freaking video game. The story is supposed to be more grounded than stuff like overpowered but overly cautious and arifureta, yet it still has the same kind of immersion-breaking MMO reliance that these shows get away with on account of comedy. The system is presented like a video game in order for it to be understandable and accessible to Sung Jinwoo, but here's the thing, Jinwoo is never stated to play video games, especially not as an adult who's spending every waking moment trying to earn money for his mom and his sister. For an elder sibling in South Korea, certainly a gym workout plan or a lesson schedule is far more intuitive for him. Heck, Jinwoo not playing games, at least not MMOs, is actually confirmed because he took the Igris quest the second that he met the bare minimum requirement to do it, instead of, leveling up so that the quest is actually not life-threatening. So why a video game? I'll tell you why. It's because the author has to rely on precise video game logic like a crutch. That's why gates open into dungeons with bosses at the end, or why Jinwoo's exhaustion is explicitly and unambiguously stated as a fatigue stat, or why Jinwoo has access to a shop, or why he has a mana meter, or why his skills are on an MMO user interface, or why hunters are classified as stuff like mages, rangers, tanks, on and on and on it goes. Solo leveling isn't an isekai by definition, but man do I not blame people in the slightest for thinking it is. Then there's the character dynamics. I praised Jeju Island for giving Jinwoo a bit of downtime earlier, but unfortunately this is actually kind of rare. Jinho is the only character that Jinwoo interacts with during most of his downtime, which is actually why he's one of the better characters in the show. But imagine if we had just a bit more downtime for Jinwoo to deepen his bond with other characters, like, his mom, his sister, his love interest. Maybe show us Jinwoo taking Juhi to dinner instead of hand-waving it away. So many potential relationships and dynamics to explore, which would get us invested whenever things start going down for either Jinwoo or his loved ones, but because we get nothing, we care for nothing. I remember when Season 2 Episode 9 caught the ire of Solo Leveling fans for slowing down and giving Jinwoo some much needed family interaction. Again, the scene where Jinwoo cures his mother got me twice, but let's not act as though we don't know why people were so upset at this scene. While Jinwoo's been making his way through the tower to get all the necessary ingredients for his mom's elixir, we were watching because Jinwoo is cool and fights cool. Yeah, Jinwoo cares about his mom, but we don't. We're here for the hype moments and aura, and that's what we've been repeatedly made to expect. It's like feeding me spaghetti and meatballs for a year, and then being surprised when I don't want to suddenly eat beans on toast. The Solo Leveling anime is the third iteration of this story. It had no issue adding a scene or two to establish some characters earlier than they appear in the source material. Would it have killed them to add one or two decent-length flashbacks showing what Jinwoo's relationship with his mother was like, knowing full well that this is a sorely lacking part of the story? The disconnect between the protagonist's priorities and the audience's priorities hasn't been this vast since the finale of Attack on Titan, and at least there it was intentional. I was gonna follow this up with a rant about how there's no memorable or compelling villains, and no, Dong-Soo doesn't count, his potential takes way too long to actualize and he gets beaten off screen, but I can't muster the energy to complain any further, so let's wrap this up. Solo Leveling is fun. It's got some of the best animation in the modern day. The openings, the endings, and the soundtrack are all very enjoyable, and the choreography is especially impressive due to all the moving parts in any given fight scene. I've enjoyed it a lot, but as a writing nerd, that's about as much praise as I can give. Everything else, from the plot to the characters to the power system and so much more, down to the very foundational premise of the show, are all so remarkably flawed that it's hard to imagine this show beating the carried by animation allegations anytime soon. Solo Leveling pushed my grandma down a flight of stairs and laughed about it. Hey, you made it. Just like before, this is the rambling section of the video. I'll be real, this was not supposed to come out when it did. I had to push today's video back and the script for this one was almost done, so I went with this. The next video will hopefully be one of those larger projects that I've been teasing for forever. That one's got a script over 10 pages long. Compared to this one, it's like 5 pages. Leave a comment if you think you can figure out what that video is going to be about. Oh, also, I mentioned this earlier, but we're almost at 1,000 subs. Man, I don't even know what to say to that. You guys are awesome, and I always love getting feedback from you all. So keep leaving those comments, asking me questions. I love interacting with you people. It's awesome. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a blessed rest of your day.
I haven't even had my first kill!